Hello, it's Phillip Taylor from Richmond Green Chambers speaking. I'm talking about an interesting book which covers two areas of law, pensions and employment. This is the book here. There's my Flickr commentary. This is the actual book itself, Pensions and Employment Law, Issues at the Interface by Wynne Derbyshire and Stephen Hardy, published by Sweet and Maxwell. Heavy book, some comments on the back. It's about 800 pages long. It's, as you can see, it's got a huge amount of information in, starting off with the usual stuff at the front and the usual paragraph numbers which Sweet and Maxwell use. There's a large amount of information from about a third of the way through the book, which I'll talk about later, and some useful stuff on the indexes at the back. Let me just leave the book there and tell you a little bit about the review I've given it. At the moment the review is on the internet, and I've given it the title Pensions and Employment Law, The Pathway to Cross, because they sort of come together. We'll explore that in a bit more detail. If you specialise in pensions and or employment law, you'll also need an equal amount of expertise, say on employment law if you're doing pensions, and likely on pensions if you're doing employment law. So the reverse is equally true. Therefore, these subjects are inextricably linked as two areas of law, and they've become what is required here as a complete and authoritative reference point in this book, because obviously the authors have tried to bring the two pathways together. And what they do is they explore and detail the interface between the two disciplines, which of course has become a necessity. The interface, or perhaps we could call it the interrelationship between the two substantive law areas, is also between trades unions and discrimination issues, possibly. And that's only just one example out of probably hundreds that come readily to mind, all of which explains why Wynne Derbyshire and Stephen Hardy have produced this excellent new book. And it's such a boon, in my view, to practitioners, advisors and researchers alike. Certainly students will have a certain interest in this, but it's more for the slightly more qualified people. It's in one convenient volume, as I say, about 800 pages, and the interface between both pensions law and employment law is clearly delineated here, saving you a great deal of bother in the process, and it's always something we're looking for as practitioners. And in so many instances it saves you consulting several and possibly separate references, including loose leaf works. To put it more tortuously, of course, the book gives you a practical overview of the pensions issues encountered in employment cases, and conversely the employment issues that can arise in pensions employment cases, so you can see the value of it. What are the contents? Well, the contents are fairly substantial. It's got 8 chapters, each with a chapter summary. Let me just show you the chapter summary. You can see it here, right at the front. It's very useful because that will point you in the right direction when you're actually looking for the right chapter for any particular piece of work or information you're after. Obviously what we've got here is an overview introduction, then running through the short number of chapters, the registered pension scheme regime, the employment contract, termination of employment, discrimination and equality, very important of course, TUPE and business transfers, equal treatment, and employment and pensions dispute resolution coming at the end. There are 3 appendices, and as I indicated earlier, you need to look at the structure of this book because they make up the bulk of the book. And there's obviously the first appendices is actually a useful contacts list. Then you've got the pensions material followed by the employment materials. I think I can say that the book is an erudite and inspired collaboration between logically an employment lawyer and a pension specialist who each discovered the need to know about each other's specialisations. Lady Justice Smith has made some comments saying this book will be invaluable to practitioners in both fields who need an introduction to the basics of the area, which is not their specialty, and an understanding of the areas in which the two fields interrelate. That's exactly what it does. So therefore, if you're involved in either or both disciplines, pensions and employment does all this and more. It also covers a number of areas. Let me run through those quickly. It sets out the essential legal principles governing both areas, provides guidance on recent pensions legislation, which at the best of times is difficult, let's face it. It covers complex areas such as maternity leave, the policy obviously for that, discrimination, trade union matters, and it provides guidance and solutions. It also looks at and comments on and analyses the Finance Act 2008-9, and obviously this is prior to the massive upheaval in the economic order that we have at the moment. It also defines things like common terms in employment law, includes an EAT form for the tribunal work. Key aspects of contracts of employment are looked at, which of course are directly relevant, and also TUPE and business transfers. And it reveals and illuminates, in my view, the multidisciplinary link between two increasingly interrelated and complex areas of law. So Derbyshire and Hardy, as I call it, will prove, in my view, indispensable. Not only is it a practitioner's guide for lawyers, it also presents a convenient and useful overview of the subject to the increasing number of advisors we have on pensions and employment issues. These are obviously not fully trained people, but this work helps immensely. And it's always going to be particularly helpful to those at employment tribunals. So let me just conclude by saying that the authors say that in recent years there's been a dramatic growth in the public awareness of the importance of pension schemes and pension-related matters, with concerns, of course, about the financial adequacy of post-retirement pension provision because of recent failures. They go into Maxwell and so on, obviously, in a bit of detail. The topical pathways, of course, cross here neatly between the schemes and the problems with the specialist expertise of these two knowledgeable and experienced authors in the two related human resource fields they cover so well for us. And I'm delighted with it. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.